The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the MIT campus as three teenage girls huddled over a workbench in the robotics lab, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of holographic schematics. Sarah Chen pushed her dark hair back from her face, adjusting the magnification on her augmented reality glasses as she manipulated the complex 3D model floating before them. Maya Rodriguez leaned forward, her quick fingers making rapid adjustments to the physical prototype beneath the hologram, while Kira Williams monitored the diagnostic readouts on her tablet. 2 hours until final presentations, Kira reminded them, her dark eyes never leaving the scrolling data. The judges won't wait, even for the youngest finalists in international youth engineering history. Sarah nodded, making one final adjustment to their quantum processing module. At 15, the three of them had already earned their place among the world's brightest young minds. Their revolutionary design for a miniaturized fusion reactor had brought them to Cambridge from 3 different corners of America, united by their shared genius and determination. Done, Maya announced, setting down her microcalibrator with a satisfied smile. Final diagnostic check. Before Kira could respond, a deep rumble shook the building. The holographic display flickered and died as the lights dimmed momentarily. The girls exchanged worried glances as the rumbling intensified. Earthquake, Maya suggested, but Sarah was already moving to the window. Her eyes widened at the sight that greeted her. Definitely not an earthquake, she breathed. The others rushed to join her, and all three stood transfixed as a massive shape pierced through the clouds above campus. The object was like nothing they'd ever seen, a crystalline structure that seemed to bend light around its edges, descending in a controlled but clearly damaged trajectory. "That's impossible," Kira whispered, but her hands were already moving to record the event on her tablet. The atmospheric friction alone showed. The object disappeared behind the tree line, and seconds later, the ground shook with the impact. Alarms began blaring across campus as security protocols activated. In the distance, they could hear the wail of approaching sirens. "We should get to the shelter," Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. All three of them felt the same pull, the irresistible draw of the unknown, the challenge that lay just beyond those trees. Sarah grabbed their prototype and shoved it into her backpack. "The crash site is near the old Phillips testing ground. If we cut through the maintenance tunnels, we could be the first ones there," Kira finished, already downloading the tunnel schematics to her tablet. Maya hesitated for just a moment before grabbing their toolkit. "This is either the smartest or stupidest thing we've ever done." "Both," Sarah grinned, leading them toward the service elevator. "Definitely both." The maintenance tunnels were a maze of pipes and conduits, but Kira's navigation proved flawless. They emerged from a ventilation shaft just as the sun was setting, casting an otherworldly glow through the smoke rising from the crash site. The object, clearly now some kind of spacecraft, had carved a deep furrow into the earth before coming to rest against a concrete testing bunker. "No military or emergency services yet," Maya observed, scanning the area. "We've got maybe 10 minutes. Sarah led them forward, her heart pounding. The ship's surface seemed to shift colors as they approached, like oil on water. A section of the hull had been torn open, revealing glimpses of an interior that defied Earth physics. "Look!" Kira pointed to a trail leading away from the wreck. Something survived. They followed the trail cautiously, using their phones' lights in the growing darkness. Around a bend, they found them. 3 alien beings huddled against the base of a tree. They were roughly humanoid, but their skin seemed to ripple with bioluminescent patterns, and their eyes were compound structures that reflected light like diamonds. One of the aliens was clearly injured, its patterns flickering erratically. Another held what appeared to be a tool or weapon, pointing it at the girls with an appendage that moved too smoothly to be called a hand. Sarah slowly raised her empty palms. "We're not here to hurt you," she said, knowing they couldn't understand but hoping her tone would convey peaceful intentions. She nodded to the injured alien. "We want to help." The armed alien made a series of clicking sounds that seemed to vibrate in their bones. Maya stepped forward carefully, opening their toolkit. "Look," she said, pulling out a medical scanner they'd modified for their project. "We can help assess the damage." The uninjured aliens conferred in their clicking language while the girls stood perfectly still. Finally, the armed one lowered its weapon and made a gesture that somehow clearly meant proceed. Kira's tablet chirped as she scanned the ship's visible systems. "Sarah," she whispered, "their propulsion system. It's like nothing we've ever seen, but I think I understand the basic principles. It's damage, but if we could adapt our fusion module, we might be able to get them airborne again." Sarah finished, her mind already racing with calculations. Maya looked up from her medical scan of the injured alien. "Their biology is incredible. The patterns aren't just cosmetic. There's some kind of communication system. And look at these readings." A distant explosion interrupted her. All of them turned to see military helicopters approaching from the south, searchlights sweeping the ground. The armed alien raised its weapon again, but Sarah stepped between it and the approaching aircraft. "Wait," she said firmly. "If you shoot, they'll respond with force." She turned to her friends. "We need to hide them. Now." "The bunker," Kira suggested. "It's shielded against everything. It's why they used to test experimental reactors there." Maya was already helping the injured alien to its feet. "What about the ship?" Sarah looked at the wreck, then at her backpack containing their prototype. A plan was forming in her mind. Crazy, impossible, and absolutely necessary. "We're going to fix it," she declared. "But first, we need to get them to safety." And then she smiled at her friends, seeing the same determination in their eyes. "Then we're going to have to become the first human beings to engineer an alien engine." The sound of helicopters grew louder as they helped the aliens toward the bunker. Behind them, the ship's surface continued its hypnotic color shifts, like a promise of wonders yet to come. They had about an hour before the military would secure the area. 1 hour to hide 3 aliens, gather what they needed from the ship, and commit to a course of action that would change not just their lives, but potentially the future of human-alien relations. Maya typed a quick text to her parents. "Sorry, might be late for dinner. Engineering emergency." It wasn't exactly a lie. As they reached the bunker door, Sarah looked at her friends. Last chance to back out. Kira was already bypassing the electronic lock, and missed the chance to study alien technology. Not a chance. Besides, Maya added, helping the injured alien through the door, who else is going to believe in 3 teenage girls enough to let them try? The bunker door sealed behind them with a heavy clang, marking the moment their ordinary lives ended and their greatest adventure began. Above them, the helicopter's searchlights swept the empty forest, while inside, 3 young engineers prepared to prove that humanity's greatest strength wasn't its weapons or its armies, but the boundless innovation of its brightest minds. The bunker's emergency lights cast an eerie green glow across alien skin as Sarah worked to establish a communication system. 3 hours had passed since they'd hidden their extraterrestrial visitors, and every minute felt like borrowed time. Above them, military vehicles rumbled past periodically, sweeping the area for signs of the ship's crew. "Got it," Kira announced, making final adjustments to their makeshift translator. They'd cannibalized their phones and competition prototype, combining them with what appeared to be a damaged communication device from one of the aliens. The result looked like a science fair project built by a sleep-deprived mad scientist, which wasn't far from the truth. Maya looked up from treating the injured aliens' wounds. She discovered their bioluminescent patterns could be stabilized using carefully modulated electrical currents from their lab equipment. "Let's hope this works better than attempt number 3. We only started one small fire that time," Sarah defended, though her smile was tense. She turned to the alien they'd come to think of as the leader, who they'd nicknamed Aurora for the shifting patterns across its skin. "Ready to try again?" Aurora made a gesture they'd learned meant agreement. The other uninjured alien, who moved with a fluid grace that had earned it the nickname River, monitored their injured companion while keeping one compound eye on the humans. Sarah activated their cobbled-together translator. At first, there was only static. Then patterns of light began pulsing across its surface, matching the bioluminescent signals of the aliens. A mechanical voice, created from fragments of their phone's audio systems, emerged. Gratitude. Danger follows. Must repair. Prevent discovery. The girls exchanged excited looks. It wasn't Shakespeare, but it was communication. We help, Sarah spoke clearly, watching the device convert her words into patterns of light. But need understand. Who follows? Why? Aurora's patterns shifted rapidly, and the translator struggled to keep up. Seek. Knowledge. Our ships hold. Secrets. Ancient data. They destroy. All who learn. Maya's hand stilled on her medical equipment. They're refugees, she whispered. And whatever's chasing them doesn't want their knowledge getting out. Kira finished, her fingers flying across her tablet. The ship's database wasn't just damaged in the crash. Look at these patterns. It was attacked. Specifically targeted. The injured alien, whom they'd named Storm for its turbulent color patterns, suddenly emitted a series of urgent clicks. River moved to its side as the translator caught up. Hunters. Approach. 3 vessels. Entering orbit. Sarah felt her stomach drop. How long? Hours. Perhaps less. The girls huddled together, speaking in hushed tones. We can't let them be found. Maya insisted. You've seen what they can do, what they know. This could advance human medicine by centuries. Kira nodded. And their propulsion technology. It doesn't just bend space, it weaves through it. Clean energy, faster than light travel. Everything we'd need to become an interstellar species. But we're just kids, Sarah voiced the doubt they all felt. The military has the ship surrounded. We have limited tools, no access to proper facilities. We have something better, Maya interrupted. We have nothing to lose and everything to prove. She pulled out their original competition blueprints. Our fusion reactor design. We could adapt it. Their ship doesn't need massive power generation. It needs precise power control. Kira's eyes lit up. And the quantum processing module we designed. If we reconfigure it to interface with their systems. Sarah felt a plan forming. Aurora. She turned to the alien leader. We think we can help repair your ship. But we'll need to get past the military, retrieve components from our lab, and work faster than we've ever worked before. The translator flickered with Aurora's response. Why risk? Your kind fears different. Because it's right, Sarah answered simply. And because some humans believe knowledge should be shared, not hoarded or destroyed. There was a long moment as Aurora studied them with multifaceted eyes. Finally, patterns rippled across its skin in what they'd come to recognize as approval. Then we teach, you learn, together find way. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Maya used the maintenance tunnels to sneak back to their lab, retrieving crucial components while avoiding patrols. Kira worked with River, learning to interpret the alien ship's technical data. Sarah and Aurora developed a hybrid interface that would allow their Earth technology to communicate with the alien systems. They worked through the night, fueled by energy drinks and determination. The translator improved with use, allowing for more complex exchanges. They learned the aliens were scholars, guardians of knowledge gathered from 1,000 worlds. Their pursuers, whom they called the Silence, believed such knowledge should be controlled, contained, and often destroyed. Like a cosmic book burning, Maya muttered as she soldered a connection between their quantum processor and an alien crystal matrix. Good thing they've never met teenage girls who've been told they can't do something. Around dawn, their first major test came together. They'd created a miniature version of their proposed power regulation system, combining their fusion technology with alien energy crystals. If it worked, they could scale it up to restore the ship's main drive. Ready? Sarah asked, her hand hovering over the activation switch. Everyone moved back, even the aliens showing clear signs of tension. Kira held up her tablet to record the test. Maya crossed her fingers. Sarah closed her eyes and whispered, "For science," then flipped the switch. The device hummed to life. Alien crystals began to glow with an inner light that pulsed in perfect harmony with the quantum fluctuations of their fusion module. Energy readings stabilized at levels they'd only dreamed of achieving. "It works," Kira breathed, staring at the data. "It actually works." Their celebration was cut short by a deep rumble that shook the bunker. Storm's patterns flashed urgently, and the translator spoke in clipped tones. "Hunters, entered atmosphere. Time ends." Sarah looked at their successful prototype, then at her friends, and finally at the aliens who had trusted them with their lives and knowledge. "No," she said firmly. "Time begins. We've proved the concept works. Now we scale up, and we do it fast." She turned to Aurora. "Your ship's weapons. Are they damaged too?" "Beyond repair." Sarah smiled, an expression that would have worried anyone who knew her well. "Good thing we're not going to repair them. We're going to replace them with something the Silence has never seen before." Maya caught her meaning and grinned. They're expecting advanced alien technology. But instead, Kira finished, already pulling up their old competition files. They're going to face 3 honor students with something to prove. As if to emphasize the challenge ahead, another rumble shook the building. Somewhere above, humanity's first alien pursuers were beginning their search, unaware that their quarry's fate rested in the hands of 3 brilliant, determined teenage girls who had already made the impossible possible once today. Sarah looked at their working prototype, its soft glow promising hope and possibility. "Let's show them what Earth girls can do." Dawn painted the sky in shades of crimson as 3 sleepless teenagers raced against time. The distant sound of military helicopters had been replaced by an even more ominous noise, the low, pulsing hum of alien search vessels. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead as she made final adjustments to their hybrid power system, now scaled up and ready for installation in the damaged refugee ship. "Status," she called out, her voice echoing in the maintenance tunnel they'd converted into a makeshift workshop. "Defense systems at 60%, Maya reported from her station, where she'd been repurposing their quantum processor technology into something entirely unexpected. "But we need more processing power to handle the load." Kira looked up from her tablet, dark circles under her eyes betraying her exhaustion. "We've got bigger problems. The silent ships are using some kind of advanced scanning technology. They'll find this tunnel within the hour." Aurora's patterns flickered with concern as the translator conveyed the news. "Cannot permit capture. Knowledge must survive." Sarah stood, her mind racing. They'd made incredible progress through the night, combining Earth technology with alien systems in ways that defied conventional engineering. But it wouldn't matter if they couldn't get the ship airborne before the Silence found them. "Maya," she said suddenly, "what if we network the processors? Not just ours, but every device we can get our hands on." Maya's eyes lit up. "Distributed computing. But we'd need hundreds of devices. Or access to a supercomputer," Kira interjected, her fingers flying across her tablet. "Like the one in the MIT Computer Science Building. If I can hack in remotely." "Too risky," Sarah started to say, but River interrupted with a series of urgent patterns. "Hunters deploy ground units," the translator conveyed. "Search pattern indicates 18 minutes until discovery." Sarah looked at her friends, then at the aliens who had trusted them with their lives and knowledge. "Do it," she decided. "Maya, help me with the final power coupling. Kira, get us that processing power. And someone please tell Storm to stop trying to walk. Those electrical bandages need another hour to stabilize." They moved with renewed purpose. Kira's fingers danced across her tablet, bypassing security systems she'd studied for fun during their competition preparation. Maya and Sarah worked in perfect sync, connecting their hybrid power system to the alien ship's main drive. The aliens assisted where they could, their combined knowledge creating solutions that neither species could have developed alone. "We're in," Kira announced triumphantly. Routing processing power now. But they've detected the intrusion. Campus security is responding. How long until they trace it? Maybe 10 minutes. The good news: we've got more computing power than we need. Sarah nodded grimly. Then let's use it. Maya. Defense systems online, Maya reported. You're not going to believe this, but I think we've actually improved the original design. The quantum field generation is stable, and the power curve is. A massive explosion rocked the tunnel, showering them with dirt and debris. Through their makeshift sensor array, they could see Silence ground forces converging on their position. No more time, Sarah announced. We move now. Kira, trigger the campus-wide emergency alerts. That should slow down both the security response and the Silence. Maya, power up the defensive systems but keep them in passive mode. We don't want to reveal our position until we have to. Aurora made a gesture they'd learned meant both approval and concern. Ship status. It'll fly, Sarah assured them. Though fly was perhaps too simple a term for what their hybrid drive system would actually do. But we need to get you to it first. They had prepared for this moment, but the reality was still daunting. They needed to move 3 aliens across 200 yards of exposed ground, past both military patrols and alien hunters, then get them into a ship that was under heavy guard. Remember the science fair last year? Maya asked suddenly, a gleam in her eye. When we created that holographic display that made everyone think the gymnasium was empty. Sarah grinned. Kira, how much processing power do we have left? Enough to create the mother of all visual distortions, but we'll only get one shot before they adapt. Then we make it count. Sarah turned to Aurora. We're going to create an illusion. When I give the signal, run for the ship. Don't stop, no matter what you see or hear. The next few minutes were a blur of preparation. Maya reprogrammed their defensive systems to project a massive holographic field. Kira coordinated with the supercomputer to calculate the precise distortions needed. Sarah made final adjustments to ensure their power systems could handle the strain. Ready? Sarah asked, her hand hovering over the activation switch. Security's almost traced the hack, Kira warned. It's now or never. For science, Maya whispered their old motto. Sarah flipped the switch. The world around them seemed to twist and fold. Their quantum field generators, powered by the hybrid energy system and controlled by the stolen processing power of a supercomputer, bent light and sensor readings in impossible ways. To anyone watching, it would appear as if a massive system malfunction was causing reality itself to glitch. They ran, through the chaos of their own making, past confused soldiers and frustrated alien hunters. They sprinted toward the ship. Sarah's lungs burned as she helped support Storm, whose injuries still hindered movement. Maya and Kira flanked them, maintaining the holographic distortion field with their jerry-rigged controllers. An alarm blared from Kira's tablet. They're adapting. 30 seconds until the field fails. Almost there, Sarah gasped. They were 20 yards from the ship when the first energy blast cut through their illusion. The Silence had found them. Keep running, Maya shouted, dropping back. She pulled out what looked like a small remote control, the result of her late-night engineering inspiration. Let's see how they handle some good old-fashioned Earth science. She pressed the button, and dozens of small drones, built from spare parts and powered by miniaturized versions of their hybrid system, rose from hidden positions around the ship. Each one projected its own quantum field, creating a dizzying array of false targets and sensor ghosts. That's my girl. Kira cheered as the Silence troops fired wildly at phantom targets. They'd reached the ship just as their main holographic field collapsed. Sarah rushed to the engine room with Aurora, bringing their hybrid drive system online. The ship hummed with power, Earth and alien technology working in perfect harmony. Multiple hunter ships approaching, River warned through the translator, orbital escape window closing. Sarah looked at her friends, saw the same determination in their eyes that had brought them this far. Then let's show them what happens when you underestimate Earth girls who've had too much caffeine and not enough sleep. The ship's engines roared to life, powered by human ingenuity and alien knowledge. Above them, the silent ships moved to intercept, unaware that their quarry now carried something unprecedented in the galaxy. The combined creative potential of two species who refused to accept impossible odds. As they prepared for liftoff, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The real test was about to begin. The hybrid-powered ship screamed through the atmosphere, pushing the limits of what its merged technologies could achieve. In the engine room, Sarah's hands flew across the controls, making micro-adjustments to keep their jury-rigged systems stable. Maya monitored their defensive arrays from a makeshift tactical station, while Kira worked frantically to predict the silent ship's attack patterns. 3 heavy cruisers moving to intercept, Kira announced, her voice steady despite the gravity forces pulling at them. Their weapons are charging. They're not trying to disable us. Aurora's patterns flickered urgently as the translator conveyed their warning. They mean to destroy. Sarah gritted her teeth as she pushed their hybrid drive harder. Maya, how are our defenses holding? Ready to show them what Earth girls can do, Maya replied, her fingers dancing across her control panel. Remember that quantum field manipulation we used for our holographic distraction? I've modified it for space warfare. The first Silence cruiser opened fire, its energy weapons cutting purple streaks across the black sky. Maya activated their defensive systems, and the space around their ship seemed to ripple and fold. The enemy fire passed through what appeared to be their vessel, but hit only empty space. Quantum ghost imaging, Maya explained with pride. They're shooting at where they think we are, but we're actually 3 meters to the left and 2 seconds in the future. That's impossible. River's patterns expressed both confusion and awe. Impossible is what we do best. Kira grinned, though her expression quickly turned serious. But they're learning, adapting their targeting algorithms. We need something else. Sarah's mind raced as she continued to regulate their power systems. Their hybrid drive was performing better than she dared hope. The combination of Earth's robust engineering and alien efficiency creating something entirely new. Then an idea struck her. The drive emissions, she said suddenly. Maya, can you modify your quantum field to amplify our engine signature? Maya's eyes lit up with understanding. Make us look like a bigger target. I can do better than that. I can make us look like a dozen targets. The space around their ship shimmered as Maya's modified defensive systems created multiple false engine signatures. To the silent ship's sensors, it would appear as if they were facing a small fleet rather than a single vessel. They're splitting their forces, Kira reported with satisfaction, taking the bait. But their victory was short-lived. One of the Silence cruisers fired a different weapon, a crackling sphere of energy that passed through their quantum illusions and struck their hull directly. The ship shuddered, and warning lights flashed across their controls. Adaptive quantum resonance. Storm's patterns flashed weakly from their medical bay. They've encountered this defense before. Sarah felt sweat beading on her forehead as she rerouted power to damaged systems. Then we need something they haven't seen. Something purely human. She looked at her friends. What's the most unexpected thing we could do? We could. Maya started, then paused. No, that's crazy. Crazy is all we have. Sarah encouraged. What is it? Remember that physics paper we read about quantum entanglement and probability manipulation? What if we combine that principle with our fusion drive's magnetic containment field? Kira's eyes widened. You want to weaponize uncertainty. That's brilliant, Sarah finished. Aurora, we need access to your ship's quantum matrix. We're going to try something that's either going to save us or turn us into a very interesting physics experiment. As the silent ships closed in, the 3 girls worked with desperate speed. They rerouted power from non-essential systems, modified their defensive arrays, and prepared for something that no engineer, human or alien, had ever attempted. Basic concept, Sarah explained as they worked. We're going to create a quantum uncertainty field so massive that it temporarily makes our exact position in spacetime impossible to determine. And when they fire at us, River asked through the translator. Their weapons won't know where to exist, Maya said with a fierce grin. Can't hit what isn't technically anywhere. Or we'll scatter our atoms across 3 star systems. Kira added helpfully. Either way, they won't capture us. Aurora's patterns expressed what might have been either admiration or concern. Your species is completely insane, Sarah suggested as she made final adjustments. Magnificent, Aurora corrected. The silent ships had formed a firing pattern around them, their weapons charged and ready. Sarah looked at her friends, saw the same mixture of fear and determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. For science, she asked. For science, they answered in unison. Sarah activated their modified drive system. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself appeared to hiccup. Stars blurred and stretched around them. The silent ships fired, but their energy weapons twisted and scattered, unable to find a target that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously. It's working, Kira shouted, checking their sensors. Their targeting systems are going haywire. Now for Phase 2, Sarah announced, her hand steady on the controls despite the reality-bending forces around them. Maya, ready with the gravitational pulse. Maya nodded, her finger hovering over the activation switch. They had one shot at this, one chance to turn their defensive technology into an offensive weapon. On my mark, Sarah watched as the silent ships struggled to adapt to their quantum uncertainty field. 3, 2, 1. Now, Maya triggered the pulse. The quantum uncertainty field collapsed inward, then exploded outward in a wave of concentrated probability distortions. The silent ships, caught in the wave, found themselves subjected to 1,000 possible realities simultaneously. Their shields flickered and failed as their systems tried to compensate for events that both did and didn't happen. Clear path to the jump point, Kira announced triumphantly. But our drive system is redlining. We can't maintain this much longer. Sarah nodded grimly. They'd bought themselves a chance, but now came the hardest part, surviving their own impossible solution. The fabric of space rippled around their ship like disturbed water as Sarah fought to stabilize their failing systems. Warning lights flashed across every control panel, and the hybrid drive's hum had risen to a concerning whine. Behind them, the silent ships were recovering from the quantum probability wave, their weapons powering up for another attack. Drive containment at 18%, Kira reported, her fingers flying across her tablet. We've got maybe 2 minutes before total system failure. Maya looked up from the defensive controls. The good news is we confused the hell out of them. The bad news, they're angry about it. Through the translator, Aurora's patterns expressed both concern and determination. The knowledge must survive. If we cannot escape. We're not giving up, Sarah interrupted, her voice firm despite her exhaustion. Maya, how much power can you draw from the defensive systems? Everything but basic shields. But Sarah, even with that, we can't outrun them. The drive. We're not going to outrun them. Sarah's eyes gleamed with that particular light her friends had learned to both love and fear. We're going to do something so crazy even we wouldn't expect it. Kira looked up sharply. You don't mean? Remember that theoretical paper we wrote about using quantum entanglement for faster-than-light communication? The one that got us laughed out of the junior physics symposium. Maya's eyes widened. Sarah, that was pure theory. We couldn't even prove the math would work. But look at what we've done already. Sarah gestured to their hybrid systems, Earth engineering plus alien quantum technology. We've already broken half the laws of physics today. Why not go for the full set? The ship shuddered as a glancing hit from the silence weapons struck their shields. River's patterns flashed urgently from the sensor station. Multiple ships entering firing range. Time is ending. Sarah looked at her friends. It's this or nothing. Are you with me? Maya and Kira exchanged glances, then nodded. They had come too far to stop now. "What do you need?" Aurora asked through the translator. "Everything," Sarah replied. "Every bit of power, every quantum processor, and every crazy idea we've got left. We're going to entangle our drive signature with the quantum probability field we created." "And then what?" Storm asked from their medical bay. "Then we're going to collapse the field and ride the quantum backlash like a wave." Sarah's fingers danced across the controls. "Maya, reconfigure the defensive arrays to create a quantum focus point. Kira, I need you to calculate the exact resonance frequency of our drive signature." They worked with desperate speed, combining theoretical physics with practical engineering in ways that would have made their professors either proud or terrified. The silent ships drew closer, their weapons charging for a final devastating barrage. "Ready," Maya announced, sweat beading on her forehead. "Calculations complete," Kira added. "But Sarah, if we're off by even a fraction, then will be the most interesting physics experiment in 2 galaxies." Sarah took a deep breath. "Aurora, River, Storm, it's been an honor. Ready?" The aliens' patterns shifted and what they'd learned was affirmation. Sarah looked at her friends one last time, saw in their eyes the same mix of fear and exhilaration she felt. "For science," she whispered and activated the sequence. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to hiccup. The quantum probability field they'd created earlier collapsed inward, but instead of dissipating, it focused on their drive signature. The ship's systems screamed in protest as reality twisted around them. "Drive containment critical," Kira shouted over the noise. "Hold it together," Sarah urged, both to her friends and to their hybrid technology. Just a few more seconds. The silent ships fired, their energy weapons cutting through space toward them. But at that exact moment, their drive signature fully entangled with the collapsing quantum field. What happened next defied every law of physics they'd ever studied. Their ship didn't just move through space. It moved through probability itself. The silence weapons passed through empty space as their vessel existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, surfing the wave of collapsed possibilities. For a brief, magnificent moment, they were everywhere and nowhere. Then reality snapped back into focus. They emerged from the quantum event millions of kilometers away, well beyond the reach of their pursuers. Did we just use quantum uncertainty as a propulsion system?" Maya asked weakly. "I think we just invented a whole new branch of physics," Kira replied, staring at her readings in disbelief. Aurora's patterns rippled with what their translator interpreted as joy and amazement. "In all our gathered knowledge, no species has ever attempted such a thing. You have done the impossible." "That's kind of our specialty," Sarah said with a tired smile. She looked at her friends, saw the same exhausted triumph in their faces. "So, think we can still make it back for the science competition?" The laughter that filled the ship's bridge was both human and alien, a symphony of relief and celebration. They had done more than escape. They had proved that innovation knew no species, that courage knew no age, and that the greatest discoveries came from daring to attempt the impossible. As they plotted their course to the alien sanctuary world, where their gathered knowledge would be protected and shared, Sarah thought about the paper they would write someday. Quantum Probability Drive, a theoretical approach to FTL travel by 3 teenage engineers and their alien friends. This time, she suspected, no one would laugh. The ship hummed smoothly now, Earth and alien technology working in perfect harmony as they traveled through the stars. Behind them, they had left more than just defeated pursuers. They had left a legend, a story that would be told in 2 civilizations about the day 3 young human engineers had changed the course of cosmic history. Not bad for a day that had started with a science competition. "So," Maya asked as they settled in for the journey, "what are we going to do for next year's competition?" Sarah grinned. "I have a few ideas."